What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the 411 podcast. We have Miss Lamia Michelle coming in the building tonight. Right now, if you can go ahead and tag your friends, let them know what's going on inside the 411 tonight. If you're out there on Facebook, if you're out there on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, D Live, Twitch, whatever, whatever room you in, tag your friends, let them know what's going on inside the 411 podcast tonight. It's Tuesday, April 5th, and we have author, we have coach Leah Michelle coming in the building tonight. We're going to have some great conversation tonight. We just getting started. So we can get right on into the song of the day. She Wants You. Kelly Price, released in 2000 off of the Mirror Mirror album. This album is very it's important to me, I would say. It was a very interesting time with music, very interesting time when it comes to my life personally, and I really like the way that Kelly Price was singing all of these records on this album. Every single one, I love an album where you can press play and back to back to back to back to back. You got hits and you have some stories and you have some things that you can relate to. Something is on this album for everybody. One of my favorite Kelly Price's album. But when I think about it, back then I was just singing songs because I like the melody, I like the arrangement of the music. Didn't really understand what I was singing back then when I was young, 19, 20, whatever was going on at that time. However, when you fast forward, life happens, some things happen, and you think back and you're like, oh, yeah, I remember when that happened. I wish I knew back then what I knew now. Anybody out there, if you can relate, have you ever been in a situation where the person that you were with, their friend, their best friend, whoever, was secretly checking for them in a type of way that maybe they didn't really understand because they were just going in innocently. They were just going in and they really didn't know that their friend, their so-called best friend, whoever, was really checking them on the side. And even though that they couldn't see, you could see it. Anybody ever been through that? I want to take y'all somewhere tonight. We getting ready to go somewhere tonight. We getting ready to have some deep conversation. So it's about understanding where you come from so that you know exactly where you're going and you don't make those same mistakes over and over again. So every now and then we got to go ahead and rewind this thing and take it back on the 4-1 pod. And that's what we're doing tonight. Song of the day, She Wants You. Kelly Price off her Mirror Mirror album, 2000. Don't be naive. Man, you can't see what I see. But if you could see what I see, you would understand and you would know something ain't right. Something just ain't right. Now, I want to say a very special thank you to everybody who supports the 4-1 podcast and Reading Between the Wines any way that you possibly can. I definitely do appreciate it. But I want to go ahead and give a very special shout out to a few people. Mr. Devare, y'all go ahead and watch that replay. We had a great conversation on Sunday. Check out that replay. Get you some Caribbean style R&B music knowledge and just some knowledge about life in general. Thank you to Sky Voice Records and Devare for coming through on Sunday. I appreciate you with that. Got to give a very special shout out to Jason T. Davis from California. My friend Neek from Coral Nails, Coral LLC. Check her out. Mr. Alex Coquito. Check him out on his YouTube page. I am a co-host of Midnight Vibes, which is his show on his YouTube channel every Saturday night at midnight on YouTube at Alex Coquito. That is Coquito. Y'all go ahead and support and check out your boy every Saturday night at midnight on Midnight Vibes. My friend, Miss Lachelle Williams, the author of the one and only Perfidious Agenda. Y'all go ahead and check out my friend, and she got some great things coming for y'all all the way from the ATL. Miss Danny from My Survivor Voice podcast. Thank you, fellow podcaster, for supporting me as much as I support you. And thank you so much. I appreciate that. Miss Danielle, all the way from Texas. She has a business called Posh and Pretty Brow Bar. Sheila Brown, Carol Cordera, wonderful, beautiful, all the way from Florida. Thank you so much for the love and support that you give to the 411 podcast. Mr. Jonathan Martin Ives, and to the Facebook family out there, anybody out there on Facebook. Whatever you do for me out there, I appreciate you. And I have to give a very special shout out to Miss Danielle Leverett. Thank you for supporting as much as you do. Now it's time for us to go ahead and rewind this thing a little bit. Now, on Sunday, we spoke about this, about being replaceable within your situation. Now, let's think back to the song of the day. Let's take it back to She Wants You, Kelly Price. You might be in a situation where your significant other can't see. They don't know what's going on. They have no idea what's going on. That their best friend checking for them, somebody down at the job checking for them. They don't know what's going on. But then at the end of the day, you try your best to do everything that you can do to try to alert them, try to get them, woke up to the situation. But sometimes it always don't work out the way we want it to work out. So when that happens, right, the question that you have to ask yourself is, should I be able to back up out of this situation? And if I do back out of this situation, or how about, guess what, you do me a favor and you walk away from me? Because the best thing that you can do when someone wants to walk out of your life is let them. So maybe they want to go ahead and do you a favor and just walk out. Are you replaceable within that situation? And I say, absolutely not. So you can go ahead and think that you're going to go ahead and replace me and change up and switch up, and you can get a little trade in if that's what you want. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, there's only one me. So you can try to go ahead and duplicate it. You can go ahead and try to replace it. You can go ahead and try to do whatever you want to do. But at the end of the day, it ain't going to work. You're going to be missing something that I have that the other just can't give you. So the question that I have for you, and it doesn't have to be a relationship, it could be something that's going on with your friendships. Maybe it's something that's going on, on your job. Maybe you hold a title, maybe you hold a position. And the question that I have to ask, are you replaceable within whatever situation you got going on? And it's so easy to be like, yeah, anybody could be replaceable, which is so true. You can stop this situation anytime that you want to. Trust and believe that it could be over whenever you want it to be over. Contracts, no contracts, whatever. Is it over? Cool. Let it be over. But at the end of the day, no one can replace you. No one can do exactly what you do in the situation that you do it. That's just my opinion, and I'm just kidding and giving it to you. You go ahead and drop it out in the comments and let me know what you feel about that. It is what it is. Are you replaceable within your situation? Now, for those of you out there who have been through some situations, maybe somebody has walked away. Maybe somebody has switched up and tried to go ahead and change you, change the situation, whatever you had to fix it. You had to leave, they had to leave. Who cares? I don't know. But after you come through the storm, after you get on through, now I got another question for you. Have you elevated your personal level of standards after you come out of some nonsense? After you have a good understanding of, okay, this is where I was, dust myself off. We're going to go ahead and move. We're going to go ahead and shake this thing up a bit. We're going to go ahead and give this thing another try. Because guess what? Somebody said it the other night on the 411 podcast, one monkey don't stop no show. So we're going to go ahead and do this thing again. Once you step into a situation, you got to ask yourself these rhetorical questions. Sometimes you have to check yourself before somebody goes around and checks you. And the question is, have you elevated, evaluated, however you want to call it, your personal level of standards? You do a personal check. This is what I'm going to put up with. This is what I'm not. And after you evaluate, then you elevate to the next level. You can take it however you want to take it. Have you evaluated your situation? And have you elevated your personal level of standards? At the end of the day, it's about growth. It's about wisdom. It's about understanding. And it's about making a change and doing something a little bit different. Because we all know When you continue to do the same thing over and over again, y'all don't need me to say it. You're gonna have that same situation that you had with this one, with that one, and the next and the other until you go ahead and figure this thing out. Let's check and see what my special guest, Miss Mia, has to say about all of this.
Okay.
What's going on? How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Good.
I'm good. Welcome to the 411 podcast. So, the question I have to ask you is where are you calling from tonight?
I am calling from Atlanta.
Oh, that's what's up. Atlanta's in the building. I was just speaking about my friend, Miss Michelle Williams. I'm not sure if you know her or not, but she has a book called Perfidious Agenda. So, I want to give
Okay.
some love to Miss Michelle Williams. We got the authors in the building tonight. So,
Nice.
when it comes to coming out of heartbreak, when it comes to coming out of, just some understanding, maybe it wasn't anything romantic, maybe it was just a life lesson that you had to learn, friendships. Um, have you evaluated your level of standards, and are your level of standards elevated today versus yesterday?
Hmm. Of course.
Okay.
Of course. Most definitely. But like you said, regardless of whether it's a friendship, it could be a situationship, relationship, um, family member.
Mm,
Regardless, relationships are relationships for the most part. But you're not the same person. Well, I'm not. I'm gonna just use me. I'm gonna just stick to me. I'm
mhm.
not the same person I was a year ago. And so a year ago, um, the situations I found myself in as far as relationships with the opposite sex, you know, if I was to be in a relationship now, which I'm single, no way would I put up with any of the things that I put up with back then a year ago. So we're constantly evolving and changing. So your standards will change as well, especially if you're in the midst of a healing journey. So I like to say
Mhm.
what I'm learning from personal experience. I'll say.
Mm. So true, so true. We are not the same that we were yesterday, last week, last year, whatever. Here's a situation that, and we're gonna get into everything, Miss Mia. But the one thing that used to crack me up is that when you try to go ahead and make a change, when you try to do something different, sometimes the people around you they won't let you do it so easy. The quick thing to come out of somebody's mouth is, "Oh, this person act brand new," or "Who do they think they are?" Or "Do you remember when they used to do X, Y, and Z, and now look at them now?"
True.
Do
True
you,
indeed. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to ask you, do you, of course, you understand where that's coming from, and do you still deal with these same types of conversations, these same uh, groups of people these days?
I feel like I still deal with those same conversations, whether they're said verbally or, you just notice the change in people's energy or the way that they're treating you differently because of their preconceived notion that, oh, you changed. But the problem isn't about me changing, it's about them staying the same. So once
Oh,
they get used to you being a familiar type of way, it's like when you're not that person anymore, then they can't use you, abuse you, walk over you.
mm,
It's like, and it goes back to standards. So, um, like at one point in my life, in my journey, I really didn't understand or know my self worth, the value of it.
mm,
I didn't value myself. And so now moving forward, it's certain boundaries that I have to put in place. So I'm not going to be, even though at the core of my being, I'm nice, I'm kind, I'm genuine, I'm honest, I'm a plethora of amazing things, but still, within all the things that I have a big heart, I'm very giving. There still has to be boundaries set, because if not, people will walk over them, and that's what I've learned throughout my life. And so now, since I'm diving deeper into my healing journey, I have to set certain boundaries. Yeah, I'm still going to be kind, but I'm going to be kind, and I'm also going to have a no. I'm not going to continue to be a yes people pleaser. So of course people are looking at me crazy. They, their feelings seem to be hurt,
Hmm.
but my feelings are also hurt because that's not the person I was last week. I want to save the world, but in the process of saving the world, I'm losing me. So I had to make a choice.
Mm.
Who am I going to choose? And so I chose me this time. So that means that I have to learn to say no. I can't be there to help, answer a phone call, text, or open my doors or my home or whatever to any and everybody every last single time that they need me to, because there are no boundaries there. So it's like, well, you used to do this and you used to do that, but guess what? When I did that, people took advantage. So now I can't be that person anymore because that person, the woman I was then, she didn't know her worth. She wasn't valuing herself. She wasn't setting those healthy boundaries, and it was leaving me depleted and drained while filling up everybody else. It left me empty. So I had to change. So they get used to you being a familiar places. Familiar places always feel good to us. That's why we always run back to them. But when you can't do it anymore, it's like, oh, so if I'm changing a level enough, then either you're going to come along or you're just going to find somebody else to use, and that's not going to be my problem anymore.
Mm. Man, you just dropped a whole bunch. Like the 411 podcast, the show is over right now. Like we ain't even get started. But one thing that I have to say is, the song Rent Money?
I don't think so.
Well, my girl, Miss Mary J. Blige, Queen of Hip Hop Soul, has a song called Rent Money. And of
I'm
course,
going to listen to it.
it uses some elements from the Notorious B.I.G. And we all know that song. But this is different. It's like, you must be used to me spending. And y'all know where that comes from. But when people get just so used to you spending, get so used to you ripping and running, get so used to you doing whatever, man, they act a little different once things change. And you have to, like you said, you were depleting yourself by running around doing everything for everybody else. And then when you looked in the mirror, you ain't even know who you were.
Exactly.
Craziness. So now, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So what typically happens as we go through this, I'm taking y'all somewhere tonight. We going somewhere tonight. This show was written at a different time. I have to tell you, this was actually written for somebody else. But situations happen, and my higher power comes in and kicks in and say, "No, like this is supposed to be for this person." And this was written 2 days before the situation, so we hadn't even had a conversation and spoken had anything. This is why I know that when the 411 podcast happens and certain situations come together and people come together, it's a supernatural, it's a mystical situation. And the burning questions that I had written 2 days before I even knew that you were coming, my mind had this set for somebody else, but it just makes sense based off of what's coming out of your mouth right now. Lets me know exactly that what I'm doing is what I should be doing, and you should be here right now, and we should be, giving people what they need tonight. So, this comes from a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, a lot of pain, I'm sure, and a lot of personal situations. So, can you give us a little bit of how you arrived here today? You write journals, you're a coach. So, in order to be able to coach somebody about life and take them through, you know, healing process, you got to come from something. You have to actually go through something yourself. Like, why would you learn from somebody who doesn't know anything about what you're going through? So, can you tell us a little bit about how you arrived here today?
Yes. Well, I do a lot of things. I am an author. I published a book in 2020. She Writes from the Heart, and that is on Amazon. And it kind of started there with me just being in this space where I wasn't happy with the way my life was going. So, just being a person that I've always been a writer, I've always written everything. Like, journals was my thing since the age of 6. My grandmother bought me my first diary when I was 6 years old. And the beauty in that is that it helped me to, again, learn to be, to be a writer and to journal my thoughts. And, it's so much power in that. But on the flip side, it also silenced my voice. So instead of speaking out and saying the thing I needed to say, I just took it to journal. So my journal became my best friend. I kept everything written down without opening my mouth to say how I was feeling to anybody about anything, regardless of the situations that were occurring in my life back then. I just always journaled it. But I took my love for journaling since I've been doing this about the age of 6, and just trying to figure out what my purpose was. So I was listening to something or reading something, because I'm always reading things, and it was just like, you find your purpose by doing what you love to do the most. I love to read,
Mm.
I love to journal. So I started creating journals, like in the place of being still and just being silent. I would always go into hermit mode, because for me, during my healing journey, or as I'm still on this healing journey, I'm not gonna lie, you know, I've carried journaling and being in silence and being in seclusion, which we now call hermit mode,
Mm-hmm.
since 6 all the way up into adulthood, and I'm 46.
Mm.
So, truth be told, because as a coach, I have a coach, and that was the
Mm.
greatest decision that I could have made in my life, because, like I said, from 6 to 46, I'm still writing in journals and not using my voice. And
Mm.
me and my coach just discovered that. And I've never felt heard. So that's why my journal became
Mm-hmm.
my best friend,
Mm-hmm.
because it
Mm-hmm.
kept all my secrets. So nobody didn't have to hear me out. I'll just write it down and keep it to myself. And that's how my book came along. So I went through some journals I had, and, just sitting there one day, I had moved from Philadelphia to Atlanta, and just going through the books, going through my journals, unpacking and going through my journals, I started reading them. And I was just like, whoa. And Spirit said, put it in a book.
Mm.
Now, mind you, when I
Mm-hmm.
wrote the book, it was just for me. I never wanted to put the book out into the world. It was never to be in the atmosphere world, so I thought, like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was just marking it off of my goal list. Okay, I did that. I completed that. And plus, I have two grandchildren, and I needed them to see someone within my dynamics, within my family dynamics, that was about something. So let me be
Mm-hmm.
the person to show them, something different. Like Gigi, because they call me Gigi. Gigi has a book. My Gigi is an author. I needed them to see that so that they can have, a higher standard to reach for.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
that's really how it started. And it just kept going from there. Now, as far as the coaching and the motivational speaking and things like that, they're part of my purpose as well. Just being on your platform is helping me to step out on faith and jump into that lane. And like I said, as a coach, I have a coach. So my coaching practice isn't up and running right now, because I'm still diving deep into my healing and still uncovering things like, oh, whoa. So, yeah, life experiences teaches us things, but I want to be so great at what I do and further into my healing before, I step out and say, okay, now I'm ready to coach you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just where I'm at. So I'm working with my coach right now. And yes, I am a certified life coach. I'm an author. I create journals. I do a lot of things. I paint. It's like freeing your inner child. Like that inner child healing thing is real. One day I feel like doing cartwheels, and one day I feel like skating, and one day I'm doing all of those things that were taken away from me as a child, because I had to be an adult before
Mm.
it was time for me to be an
Before it was
adult.
time, yeah, yeah.
But it was purpose in that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how God works. That's how the universe and spirit works. You don't know it then,
Mm-mm.
but as you grow through it and you reach adulthood, now I can look back and say, oh, it was purpose in that.
Yeah.
Because had that not happened, I would not be creating journals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And each one of my, which my favorite one is the Dear Self, I Love You journal, started because I would write myself Dear Self, I Love You letters when I was a kid.
Mm.
So I was not knowing I'm speaking affirmations and life over my life, because
Mm-hmm.
no one taught me that.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
was already
Mm-hmm.
in alignment.
Yeah. I
And
get
I
it.
started doing that back then. So I took all of my pain, and that's how I turned it into power. So each one of my journals is something that I went through, and I just turned it into a book.
Mm. Wow.
I
A
know.
lot was said. A lot of knowledge was needed. And listen, if you're out there, I want to say what's up to Peabody, Nick. What's going on out there on Live? I appreciate my D Live family. Young, what's going on? Everyone out there who popped in and out on Instagram, I appreciate you. This was needed tonight. You kicked so much knowledge. You said so many things, but when I can just touch base and go back a little bit, couple things you didn't understand. Of course, a lot of people don't understand the things that they, are set up for. You go through some pain, and then at the end, you gain some power, you gain some knowledge, you gain some understanding behind the situation you didn't know back then. And you said that you didn't have a voice, so you put it inside of your journal, and that's how the journal started. And you weren't using your voice. But let me tell you something right now, and I can come, from experience and understanding too. Being very shy back in the day, not wanting to talk, holding myself back, it just wasn't time. All that time that you were writing in those journals, and you weren't meant to be the person to be all up in somebody's face. I used to think that about myself because I would see so many people, and I thought that they were superseding me, or they were, miles ahead of me, because I wasn't that person that was all up in people's faces and look at me and trying to show the world, who I am. That just wasn't me coming up. But it was for me to be hidden. It was for me to be quiet a little bit, because listen, once 2020 happened, it was like, okay, boom, this is what you're going to be doing. You're going to be in front of people night after night after night, still not being all up in people's faces. I got a nice little calm, cool swag about me. And this is what it was for. That's why I wasn't. And that's why I shouldn't have been all up in people's faces back then. And I was real quiet. I was real shy, because it's such a shocker to people to actually see me doing what I'm doing now. So for you, all of that stuff that you said 6 to 46. This is exact. Listen to the way that you were just talking, and you gave it to the people for a good 5 minutes straight. Very articulated yourself. You had everything all together. This is exactly what you should be doing.
Wow.
So
And
from
it amazes me because hearing you say that, I'm like, to me, still, like, we're just being honest. I feel like, this is an honest space, safe space.
mhm,
So it still feels like, oh my God, you're talking too much. Like, why are you saying all of that? And it feels good to release it, but this
mhm,
is totally a different version of me. Like, when this Mia shows up, it's like, oh, whoa, where have you been? Like,
and
but like you said, it was alignment and it wasn't the time for me to say things back
right,
then.
right,
But now it feels like, oh my God, all of this was in me. Like, and I still sometimes feel like, you talking too much. Why are you saying all that? Hush. And I shock myself because I'm like, where did all that come from? Because I don't talk this much. So it's
mhm,
funny.
mhm. I understand exactly where you're coming from, and when you have those situations, sometimes you just need to, like you said, get in your quiet space and ask yourself these questions, and
Uh-huh.
and get some understanding. Because sometimes that, are you talking too much, or are you saying too much, or are you doing too much? Sometimes it's the old you tapping and knocking and saying, yo, listen, I'm still here. What's good? We still here.
Right.
So you want to come back home, you want to come back to doing the things that you used to be doing, and it could be a little tricky. And for me anyway, this is just all new to me. I actually, took a new lease out on life 2 years ago. But the battle is never over. That's the one thing that I have to tell each and every person out there tonight, is that it's never over. Every single day that you wake up, you have to make the decision to be who you say you're going to be, because you better do it and you better say it before somebody else turns around and tries to tell you who you are. So
Uh-huh.
my message is, you don't get to tell me who I am today. I tell you who I am. And that's speaking to myself too. Like, listen, we're not gonna go back and be that shy individual that let people run all over top of us. This is a us thing together. There's two people inside of you. I don't care whether people want to believe it or not. You think that somebody's crazy, it is what it is. This person's over here talking to themselves. All right, well, it is what it is. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but there's always two voices inside of you. So sometimes you got to get with self and be like, listen, what we gonna do today? Who gonna win this battle? Left side or the right side? What we gonna do? So
Wow.
you know, so
It
just
makes sense. It resonates with me because I do it all the time. And I'm just like, and like you said, and people will look at you and feel like, oh, you're being crazy. But again, like, they're just not in faith. So it's like, oh, you'll get there, dig a little bit deeper, do a little bit more, live a little bit more life,
and
face your
yeah,
trauma.
yeah.
You'll get there, trust me.
Yeah, like it's being stuck in this quicksand. Like I know for years I was stuck in quicksand for about 10, 20 years of doing the same stupid stuff over and over and over and over again. I couldn't even see the good side of me because of the bad side of me just was taking over, doing everything, thinking that, he knew what was going on. But like you said, all right, you ain't right where I'm at right now. That's cool because we all got a different path, we all got a different journey, and we will arrive, some of us, to the same destination, but at different times. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Holla at me when you go through some stuff. When you finally get to that
Exactly.
point and you say, listen, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm done. I've had enough. I'm fed up. It is what it is. It's over. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on tonight and sharing your story and opening it up to the world. So, for the ladies out there, anybody out there that needs some encouragement, people who want to look up to you and follow you and, learn all about your journals and what you do, where can they get in touch with you?
All right. So you can find me on Facebook at Mia Pierce, MIANPIERCE. Or and I also have an author page on Facebook, author Lamia, LA, capital MIA, Pierce. And then I only have one Instagram page, and that is underscore planet underscore seed. Underscore PLANTED underscore SEEDS. My journals and also my She Writes from the Heart. I am Lamia Michelle. All of my books can be found on Amazon. If you put in my name, you can either put in Lamia Michelle Pierce or Lamia Michelle, and they'll all come up. My website isn't fully up and running. Again, just doing things a little bit backwards, putting what is it, the cart before the horse, or however that goes. So now I'm revising a lot of my books and I'm even doing my first book over while I'm working on writing the second book. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pretty much just based off of my life. Um, God told me to be transparent. Spirit told me to be transparent. And at first I was nervous about that because I didn't want to because I've never had to be.
Mm-hmm.
But people need to see the broken you and then the healed version of you as well. But I also have to continue to show up as the healed version of me. And that's why, like I said, I have a coach. So even though I am a certified life coach, I still need a coach too. Like, healing is, even though it's a person, and even your spirituality can just one-on-one and unique, you still need community. You still need someone, to be able to say, sometimes even just to hold you accountable or to help you dig into the shadows, because it is a lot of shadow work. It is a lot of inner child healing, and it's going to bring up a lot of stuff. So right now, I'm working with my coach to work through those things so that when I do get ready to launch my business, I'm ready. I'm showing up with a high value woman with higher standards, because we talked about standards,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm healed. Even though healing is an everyday journey, it's continuous throughout our lives. A healed version of me, and I'm ready for that. Like I've seen her in the distance, but I'm getting closer to her daily, and it feels amazing. It comes with a lot of tears, but it still feels good to finally say, "Oh, girl, yes, I see you. I see you clear now. You're not just a blurred vision anymore."
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's
I
what's
get
up.
it. It's amazing. It's an amazing journey. So
Miss Lamia Michelle. So you said so many couple things, and I'm trying to hold on to all of them. But one thing, you were from Philly, and you moved to the ATL. So you just had enough of the weather, or you had enough of the people. What made you take a change here?
I had enough of the environment. And I think this is like my third or maybe fourth time living in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So I continuously came back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And one of my aunts said to me the last time that I moved here, and I've been here now almost 3 years, she said, just imagine if you would have stayed the first time, how much further in life you would have been. And
Mm,
that changed my perspective on everything. So there was no more, oh, I'm here.
yeah,
Nah, I still don't want to be here. I'm going back up north. This time I decided to stay put
yeah,
just
yeah.
to see how far I was going to go. And it's working.
Hmm.
It's blowing my mind.
And that
It's blowing my mind everything I'm learning in this season.
that's another life lesson too that happens. Um, Sometimes when you sit with yourself, you talked about quiet time, which is so important to me. I will have a attitude, straight up attitude. If I can't have my peace, I can't have my quiet. And I spoke about it the other night that that's what was wrong with me the whole time because that's what I was fighting. And I ended up getting into a situation that was absolutely no peace and quiet. There was no rest. There was no nothing. People wonder why I was running around, you know, with an attitude, but that's the reason why. But when you get with yourself and you have that peace and you have that quiet, sometimes you'll be able to look at your life as a whole and be like, oh my goodness, can you imagine if this time that I sat back with myself back then, where would I be now? But that also is another indication of it just wasn't time. Because
Right.
even if you did everything and stayed at the second time and it wasn't the third time, would you really be where you're at today? And it's kind of scary for me because I'm like, oh, I'm glad that I had all of this stuff. I'm glad I had people do me dirty. I'm glad that I had this so that I can know how to have the conversations today so I don't get tricked, so I don't get tripped up where I'm at today because my life is so much powerful today than it was back then. And if I had just got catapulted to where I'm at right now and not go through those trials, that could be a little scary too. So sometimes it's just like, all right, cool, I get it. I don't know if you go through that, but it's cool.
It
At
is.
least
It
for
really
me.
is.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, because then if it was catapulted, then it would have been you would have missed the lessons that you were supposed to learn in between. And
Yeah.
it was like, no, I had to go back home because that was part of it too. You know, I don't take too many. I don't. First of all, I don't really believe in coincidences. I believe that everything happens for a reason, the way that it's supposed to happen.
Hmm.
And you know, I heard you say something about being aligned in spirituality and stuff like that. So I know that it wasn't by coincidence. It was strategically designed for me to continue to go back and forth because it was some lessons that, or even some situations that I hadn't healed or that I didn't really pay attention to, or unresolved issues and things left unfinished. So
Hmm.
I had to keep going back and forth. I had to keep going back and forth, whether it was to find myself, whether it was to fix a relationship, say with my mother or father, or whatever it was for a reason. But I got what I needed in each one of those seasons, and it made me stronger for the next season that I did come back to Atlanta. And then when I left again, it was like, okay, now what? But I tell you one
Hmm.
thing, each time that I left, I never missed a beat.
Hmm.
And that's how come I know that faith works. I know that,
Hmm.
we really do create our realities, once we get our thoughts and our
Oh,
minds
absolutely.
aligned. Like, once we get our heart and our mind aligned, it's like, whoa, magic really can happen.
Hmm.
Because I went home, and within a month, I had a job, I had a place, I had a car, like I didn't miss a beat. So even, they're like, well, how do you come back and do that? And then when I came back to Atlanta, just like that, house, job, car, everything in the place. So I was, it kind of made it, oh wow, what's really going on? But I still didn't, even though I still had to learn some lessons in between, it was like, okay, but I still got you. You're still not going to go without, you're still not going to be without food. You're still not going to be without shelter. You're still not going to be without the necessities. So it's like, you might have to cry some nights by yourself. You might have to do this alone. You might have to, because at one point I lived in a hotel for a couple months because when I did come back, I was homeless. But within those 2 months, I set up every day going to a job. And then I made a goal. I'm going to buy a house. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I believed that God was going to do it. 615 credit score. I bought my first house. Like, so it still was like learning the lessons in between. And again, turning that pain and that negative into a positive. Hey, this looks like a bad situation, but what's the blessing in the womb? Let me
Mm.
find it.
Yeah.
And I always look for it. I always look for the blessedness in the wound. Okay, this might hurt, but it's teaching me something. I was telling my coach I was in a really bad toxic abusive relationship. But guess what? And people didn't understand, well, how could you forgive him? How could you still pray for him? But that's the type of heart that I have. And I
Mm,
don't want nothing that I go through in life to ever change that about me. And how could you still do that and be like that with him and da da da, and they didn't understand it, but I understood it because had it not been that for that situation, then I would have never
absolutely.
recognized like, oh
A-
wow, I don't love myself. So it helped me, even though it was a negative, it still was a positive as well.
Absolutely.
And that's how life goes.
Now, what's going on out there on D Live? I appreciate see your comments coming through. Trying to get to your comments, and out there that was on Instagram, I appreciate you for dropping your comments as well. All everything you're speaking is real, all truthful. So proud of your accomplishments. Now, Philly, we're gonna take it back to Philly. Did you grow up? And I know we up against the clock, but I just have to ask this question because I want to make a point. Did you grow up in a rough environment in Philly? Uh, School districts was, where did you come from when it comes to Philly?
Chester, Pennsylvania. Have you heard of Chester before?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm from Jersey, so right
So you
there.
know about
Yeah,
Chester.
yeah. I have to tell you that what I love is when people come from some rough situations and they come out, but man, your vocabulary is so impeccable. Like I just have to tell you that that's what makes a woman, you know, I I I I- I'm just speechless behind it because man, your vocabulary is on point. You write books. That's what it's about. Like your environment doesn't control you. That's one thing. Like if you're in a situation and your environment is controlling you, making you act out, making you do some crazy things, making you be the person that you know you really don't want to be, you have to change the situation because today my environment doesn't control me. I control my environment and I change things and I flip things. And if I don't like it, I subtract this and I add this and I take it away. But that's a prime example behind it, man. Amazing. That I lose you still. Oh, you still like I didn't lose you. What's going on, y'all? I see Will. I see Bethany. What's going on? But yeah, just on point. I love it. Now we are getting ready to go into a segment and we got to get out of here soon. But this is Burning Questions. This is a segment where I basically put my guest in a hot seat and I go ahead and ask some questions and I'm going to give my opinion and she's going to give hers. So, this is Burning Questions. So, the question that I have for each and every one of you out there tonight is it stagnant due to your own lack of knowledge about your own power? I know you spoke about loving somebody and people were like, how and why? Sometimes it just be like that. Um, if a situation, if a friendship, if something went wrong on your job, doesn't have to be a romantic relationship or anything like that. Maybe it went sour, maybe it's a little stale, maybe it's stagnant. Do you believe that some of these situations happen because of our own lack of knowledge about the power that we possess?
Hmm.
It'd be a trick question, but
It could. It could go kind of. I don't believe. I personally don't believe it's because of our lack of power that we know that we possess within of us. Within ourselves. I just believe it's because we're out of alignment. We're not attached. The pieces of us, because we attract who we are, right?
mhm,
So
mhm, mhm. Like
if
a
we're constantly evolving and other people are staying stagnant, either we're going to grow together or we're going to grow apart. So if I'm going
mhm,
up and you're staying where you're at and it's comfortable, like say for instance, um, I'm the person I like to go and sit in the park and I like to sit near the lake and I like to read books and I like to meditate and I like to journal. And
mhm,
sometimes I do like them out, but I'm not a go out in the club and be in the bar type of chick. Not
mhm,
that's just not my lane. I don't want to do that every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But if I'm with a partner, if my partner, if that's their lane and that's what they want to do, of course we're not going to align. We're going to it's going to be to each other,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then it's going to be parts that's not. So after a while, that would get kind of like, all right, listen, we need to switch this up and do a little bit of the things that I like to do, or let's, find something in the middle. But if that person is like, oh, well, this is who I am, and this is what I do, and this is the way I live my life, of course we're going to go apart. But it's because one person wants to stay the same while the other person wants to change.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
no matter how much power we have or we possess, I've learned you can't save other people. You can't
Absolutely.
make them recognize the power that they have within themselves. They have to do that themselves. They
Mm-hmm.
have to do the work. They have to see it. I can show it to
Mm-hmm.
you and point it out, but if you're not ready to accept that, then I can't stay here waiting for you. You want me to come down to your level, but I need you to come up to where I'm at. Because the view is always better. But, so I'm going to stay in my power. I just need, come up here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whether it's friendship, whether it could be my girlfriend, boyfriend, situationship, whatever it is, whatever relationship it is, no, come up.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you can't force them to. So I just believe that it's just because people just outgrow each other because one person wants to stay the same and the other ready to evolve and change.
I say, listen, everything that you said was on point. Like I said, this was for you. This question,
Oh
this whole
wow.
show, and this whole vibe tonight was specifically saved just for you. There was a reason why the other person didn't get this experience that you're getting tonight. And everything that you said was so on point, and but it got stagnant. There was bad energy. There was me going back and forth with you. There was all of these things going from my own experience now because of the lack of knowledge about the own power that I possess. Because no, I can't change you. I can't keep fighting with you, going back and forth, trying to make you do something, trying to. One thing that my friend taught me is you can't beat people into submission. You
Mm,
can't try to tell somebody what to do or make them or beat them into submission, drilling something in like a damn drill sergeant, because at the end of the day, they're gonna want to go ahead and do what they want to do anyway. What they were doing in the beginning is what they're gonna try to go ahead and do at the end. We all gonna go through these ups and downs, and when it start to get stagnant, you have to look within self. What did I do to get
mm,
myself in this situation? And I can only change me. But while I'm changing me and while I'm showing up every single day being me, if that person really loves you, or that friend really wants to be with you, or that partnership that you got going on, we want to keep this thing together. It's amazing how once you get with self and you reflect with self and you take responsibility for who you are, the people around you will start to change up, and some may go, some may not. And guess what? We might break up today. This friendship might be over and we might think it's over, but this whole thing is, so, supernatural. What didn't work back then, or what's not working right now, may you may need to go through something. I need to go through something so that we can come together and make this thing work. You know, 2, 3, 5 years from now, whatever the situation may be. But the most powerful and the most phenomenal thing about it is when you don't have to tell somebody anything. You just start within self, and they see the growth, and they see what's going on, and they see what's happening. But because they value who you are, they will actually change themselves, and you ain't have to do anything about it except work on who you are.
mm.
So,
That's beautiful.
so did it get stagnant due to the lack of knowledge about your own power? When I speak about myself and I think back to some of these friendship and some of these relationships and even some of these careers that I was in, absolutely, I didn't know what my power was. I didn't know, you know, what I could do to change the situation. So that's what I have to say for myself. So I don't know. These are rhetorical questions. There is no right or wrong answer to these situations. But before you start to point the finger, before you start to go ahead and try to tell somebody what to do or get upset because this person isn't doing what you want them to do, look in the mirror first, seek within. Everything starts with self first. And one thing that I always keep with myself is you can't beat people into submission. I mean, I've tried it so many times, and it's cool because they ain't, reaching out to this person right now because you just had a conversation about it. But 6 months from now, a year from now, when that phone ring again, and that person starts to remember that this is what I was doing before, and oh, let me look, he ain't around, he ain't watching. all right, let me go ahead and, dabble in this and do that. And when you build it upon poor negative energy, man, all that's going to crumble eventually one day. It's fear. You can't instill fear into people. And that's just not what we're put on this earth to do is, put fear into people. We have been put here to, put love into the situation. So when you walk around being ugly and throwing nothing but fear out there, I just don't think it's going to stand tall. That's my personal opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, it makes perfect sense. I have a question for you.
Hmm.
Well, I know, like, I think it's a beautiful question. Your question before, and it just had me sitting here thinking myself. I was found myself in a situation, and it was crazy, but and it didn't work. It just did not work because I was too different, and it was like I've never been in the energy, and you're too different for me, and it scared him. So fear can also, so maybe because that person didn't recognize their own
Power.
power
Yeah.
and they were so afraid of putting forth the effort to change,
Hmm.
that's where it went wrong because it was like, again, I can't come down to where you are. I need you to come up to where I am. And it was just too scary. It was too scary. So I think, because it was scary for me to recognize my power, and
Hmm.
sometimes, and it still is,
Yeah.
because I'm like, whoa, like, oh goodness, because people will judge you.
But one thing that I've
They,
one thing that I've learned though is that it didn't work out then. There might still be some work going on. And when you recognize your power and you know what your power is, things can change. So
okay,
as long as it was with pure love and there was no, you know, negative energy built around it, no pointing fingers, no, you got to do this, you got to do that. If it was a peaceful thing where y'all could be, moving out of this situation on a friendly level, you can build upon that. So you never know. I'm just saying, you never know. Now, me, I don't have that because every time something happened, it was like a negative situation. I made sure that all of these doors are closed, which was again, when I think about my life, these doors needed to be closed because where I'm going right now, I can't have none of that coming into what I got going on right now. So
okay.
everybody's situation is way different, but all of these doors, all of these, man, I had to light a match and run.
Oh wow.
Like nobody, they know they can't reach out to me, and that's cool. I'm cool with it because
Oh wow.
you can't right now. Yeah, and I had to think about it, and I had to go through all of these ugly situations so that I can learn actually what love is. And it's so bad when you think that you're in love and you want to run around and say, "I know what love is." When you're younger, yeah, man, listen, I don't even know how you can be with somebody for several years and think that you're in love and then not really understand it. That's a whole nother situation for another day. But
Have you forgiven though? Even though those doors are closed, and like you said, there is no opening those doors. Have you forgiven those people,
oh,
or are you
absolutely.
still in the process of working on it?
No, absolutely because before when I would think of somebody, I would get this nasty energy where I'm ready to, jump in my car and tear something up. 'Cause that's the type of energy that I used to, bring. But when I can sit in peace and take a big deep breath and be like, thank you, that is over. Like this person, just thoughts of them no longer bother me. And I would carry bad thoughts from a previous situation into my new situation. So while I'm laying down with you and while everything's cool and I'm booed up with you, every now and then I would think about the past and have some negative energy come in. And if you do something that reminds me of something that the person did before, now I'm taking you through the whole thing that I went through, and it's just this whole big old toxic, ugly situation. So I had to sit by myself for a long time, so some of those doors were closed, and you wonder why you ain't seeing nobody. You wonder why you ain't dating anybody. You wonder why this friendship is not prospering because you still have some work to do. You ain't getting it. You ain't learning that. You need to sit by yourself and clean all of this mess up because of the next person that I got behind this door here is so important. And this is what you've been waiting
Mhm.
for this whole time. if you go in there acting stupid with some of the same situations that you've been through in the past, it's just not gonna work. And when I look at the situation that I'm in right now, it's like, wow, like I get why these doors were closed. I get why I had to forgive this person. I get why I had to go back. And even though I forgive you, that doesn't mean that we're friends, though. I don't want to see you. I don't want to look at you. I don't even want to know you. But I forgive you from everything, and it doesn't bother me anymore.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
well, we are here. We made it. I want to say thank you so much for coming on. Great conversation. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight because I know that you did this special for me tonight because this is past your bedtime. But thank you for hanging in there with me tonight. Go ahead and let everybody know where they can follow you at and get everything. This was just an amazing experience tonight. And like I said, this whole thing was specifically written just for you.
That's amazing. I love when spirit shows up like that. Like, okay, universe, alignment, alignment. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to come on your platform. Like, I haven't done a podcast or done an interview in so long. I think I did a book club like maybe a few months ago, and that was pretty cool. So it feels good to come out of this space of shyness and reserved and oh, I'm just gonna be quiet and be in this bubble and to speak, to just finally find my voice. So thank you for allowing my voice to be heard. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And again, you guys can find like all my journals, and I think I have maybe 11 of them so far because I get in creative mode and I just create, create, create.
Mm.
You can find my journals on Amazon as well as my book, She Writes from the Heart. I am Lamia Michelle, and you can just type in my full name, Lamia Michelle Pierce or Lamia Michelle, and everything should come up. You can follow me on Facebook at author Lamia Michelle. No, I think it's author Lamia Michelle or Mia Pierce, which is just my regular page. And then on IG, I am underscore planet underscore seed.
That's what's up. Now, I do a show which is called Reading Between the Wines. So I definitely need to have you come back if you would love to come back. It's on Wednesday
I would love
nights.
to.
Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. where you basically you read your books and you
Mm.
tell us everything that's going on inside your book, and I read the wine and I drink the wine and I give my input on it. But you'll be doing a lot more reading and I'll do a lot more drinking. But no, we come together and make it work with Reading Between the Wine. So every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Definitely would love to have you come back and you know in the near future.
Yes, that sounds amazing. Now, is that on Facebook or Instagram?
Same thing, streaming on all platforms that I'm on. So if you can't catch us live, you can get the replay on, at Laren Games. So,
And tomorrow is Wednesday, so are you doing it this Wednesday coming up?
oh, absolutely. Yes, I got,
I will be there. I will be joining. I will just come in and listen.
okay, very good. And, we'll have you up real soon. So thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you and, have a wonderful evening and, can't wait to talk to you soon.
All right, you as well. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye,
Take care now.
everyone.
Well, there you go. Author Lamia, Michelle. What great energy, what great conversation. And like I said, you never know what you're going to get when you come inside the 411. You just never know. We go through different journeys and we have different guests. And wow, this was amazing tonight. Who knew that something that I wrote 2 days ago was specifically made for her? And like she said, universe spirit definitely made it happen because I had this all prepared for somebody else, but it didn't work out that way. But so thankful that it was saved for her because this was amazing. Please go ahead and check her out. And thank you so much to everybody out there who came in. All of the comments that were on Instagram, I appreciate people who came through and dropped the comments. And for those of you out there on the other platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of that stuff, please check out my YouTube channel. You're gonna get a different experience if you're watching from Instagram. You're definitely gonna get a different experience when you go to Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, or anything like that. And again, for all of you out there, thank you so much for all of the likes, the comments, the shares, every single thing that you've done for the 411 podcast. It's been an amazing journey, and we got more coming. We got so much coming. If you would like to support, please go ahead and click that link above all of my social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, D Live, Twitch, Daily Motion. Click those links above and go inside of Volume 1.5, The Liberation Remix Journal. You can purchase my book for $7.99, and it will help support and keep everything rocking and rolling that we got going on here on the 411 podcast. Now, I cannot do any of this, and I have to be very, very, very clear about this situation. I cannot do any of this without thanking my executive producer, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who gave me the strength, the power, the energy to continue to come out here and do this night after night after night, and to continue to connect with some of these great individuals that I connect with. Definitely is not me, definitely way bigger than me. And I cannot do it without my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for allowing me to come out here and give you all the 411 podcast one more time in life. And I'm so very thankful, just as I'm so very thankful for the people who come through and support, the people who text, the people who DM, the people who just give me words of encouragement. I hear you, and I'm going to continue to make content and continue to come out here and do what I have to do so that we all can break through. We all can get through. We all can level up. Definitely appreciate you. Tomorrow, I have my friend coming through, Mr. Robert Stubblefield, reading between the lines. Come through tomorrow, 8 p.m. Right here, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go ahead and bring your glass, bring your bottle, whatever you do. We drinking tomorrow, we reading tomorrow, and we gonna have some fun tomorrow. Mr. Robert Stubblefield, reading between the lines, 8 p.m. right here at Laren Gaines. Thank y'all. I'll see you tomorrow night. Take care, y'all. Have a good night. See y'all.